Smaller. Okay. We'll let this airplane pass. Hi folks, thanks for coming to what I'm calling the Between the Interviews podcast. This will be kind of a behind the scenes, kind of the making of portion of the Capitalism for Good project. The interviews that are done with business leaders will still be public and free. Those will be on the main podcast feed on the main channels. And then this here in between the interviews will be a little bit more of like what goes into it, the making of, what I'm thinking of in between the interviews, reflections on the last interview that was posted, and also kind of what goes into it. What are the things that I'm reading, that I'm learning, that I'm listening to, that I'm researching, that I am trying to like dig into as I try to understand how business leaders and our dollars and customers kind of all fit together, and how that all impacts our daily lives together. So I'm trying to be really thoughtful. I've been thinking a lot about quality over quantity, and I've been really hesitant to push forward or cast too wide of a net when it comes to publishing some of these interviews with business leaders. I really want to make sure that they align with kind of the vision for the whole Capitalism for Good project. So those things might take a little bit of time. Whereas this and the between the interviews, it'll be weekly. They'll go out every Monday. And they'll be on Patreon. There'll be kind of some other kind of perks and stuff like that could be accessed, should that be something that you're interested in. And then the actual interviews with business leaders for the full Capitalism for Good will still be free and public on all of those main podcast feeds. I really want to make sure that those don't get hidden behind any kind of a paywall, because that kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. But I also recognize that this takes some time and some effort to really do it right, and I want to make sure that at no point down the road does it feel like it is a little bit of a sellout, or that maybe certain things through advertisements are being promoted that maybe aren't truly in line. So I thought Patreon might be a kind of a good way to grow the community, kind of expand the conversation, make it a little bit more interactive, but also see kind of the how and the why that goes into the interviews. The interviews I really want to spotlight those business leaders that are out there and that are doing the thing. So that's their thing. And this here's a little bit of mine. This is like my fun project behind the scenes, even though I'm involved in all of it. But anyway, that's where my brain's been at for all of it. Like I said, I am going to repeat this. I've been thinking a lot about quality over quantity. Obviously, there are times when convenience trumps other things, or when you need something kind of urgently, or it could be convenience as far as you've got one store that is in your city that's right down the street, or that's in your neighborhood that's walkable, that's whatever, and then all of your other options, there's more hurdles, whether it's for their travel time, maybe they're more expensive, maybe they're in different parts of town, maybe they're not in your town, like who knows, there could be a million different ways. But like, how do we value those things? How do we value our time and our convenience with our actual values? So you're going to hear me probably talk about this a million times. The things that I look for often when I am making decisions about purchases, or decisions about maybe my own employment, or really kind of anything that has to do with the dollar or my time and my effort, I'm thinking a lot about the environment. I think sustainability is really important. I think protecting our environment is really important. I think it's an investment in our future, in the future generations. It's something that's always been really important to me, and I don't see that changing. People are also really important to me. I want to make sure that people are being treated well, that they are kind of the center of a lot of these decisions that are going on, because at the end of the day, like, that's who these things are for, and that's also who's running these businesses. It is the kind of like the staple at every benchmark in this. And so those things are the types of things I'm looking for. I'm also looking for stability. I have never really been one that is really excited by fads and trends and things that kind of come and go. It really puts kind of a bad taste in my mouth when I think about companies that are expanding and shrinking really quickly. That affects the stability and the longevity of the families and the employees that are working there, but also the people that are counting on those products and the things that are coming out of it. Anyway, it all becomes really complicated. I guess that's kind of my point, is our world is complex, and it's going to take some time to really do this right. And I want to make sure that it is being done right. And I keep going back to this, like, quality over quantity. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely time and place for quantity. I am definitely the person that if I like a product and I am going to purchase it, if it's on sale, I'm buying 4 of them or something like that. I want to kind of save my stress in the long term. I also want to save my dollar. So, you know, it's a lot of things. It's not a one size fits all box. But I do kind of want to talk about, like, the philosophy and the things that are going on behind the scenes. Something that has been in my brain a lot, and not just with Capitalism for Good, not just with the way that we spend our dollars, not just in the way that we participate as employees and supervisors and leaders and owners of companies, but just like in general, one of my themes over the past I almost said like year. It's not. It's been like decade. It's been just like slowing down, taking a breath, being thoughtful, filtering things as they kind of come, being a little bit less reactionary, and just being a little more intentional about kind of everything that's going on. Just where I, as a human, have been at for a long time. So I'm gonna take those philosophies and I'm gonna bring them into this. So again, this The between the interviews will come out every Monday. They'll be weekly things. They'll be shorter, hopefully easier to digest. You hear about the things that I've been thinking about, how I reflected on the last published interview, or maybe something that I'm working on behind the scenes that you haven't seen yet that hasn't been published. The things that I'm researching, the things that I'm reading, I'll kind of make some recommendations about those kinds of things as well. And also tell you kind of what's to come, what am I still looking to dig more into and find out more about. So I guess with that kind of recommendations point, one of the things that I've been watching and listening to, I've been using MasterClass. It took me a little while to get into MasterClass. I just am a big consumer of educational type of, or thoughtful, intentional type of media, and so that does not mean that I don't watch trashy TV or I don't read trashy books or anything like that. But when it comes to like podcasts and books, like I try to be throwing something where I'm learning and thinking about something in a different perspective. So MasterClass was kind of right in that same wheelhouse. I also it was just in a point in my life I had been doing something where I was kind of like burnt out. I felt like I was like hitting the same walls over and over again. I'll probably tell you more about that in other weeks, but I just really wanted to feel like I was learning again and using my brain in that way and like picking up new skills. But something about MasterClass, I don't know if it was like too many options, too many things, what it was, I don't know. That just kind of like sat for a couple months, but I've recently been getting back into it. Shout out to my friend Ashley Heinzman, who kind of like gave me a couple nods. She's been getting into MasterClass a lot lately. So her kind of like nudges and questions have really helped me find my way back into it. Anyway, that's all to say that one of the things that I have been watching and listening to recently is Paul Krugman's, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly, his economics masterclass. And I really liked that because as I'm talking to these business leaders and researching companies and kind of understanding how this all works together and how we participate on both the company side and the purchaser side of things, being able to put that into the context, giving it a global perspective and also a historical perspective. I haven't finished it yet, but he's talked about several different depressions, not just in American history, but all across the world, that may or may not reflect some of the things that are happening right now in January of 2025. So that was really helpful for me to hear about and listen and understand. He also kind of breaks things down back to some of those basics of supply and demand, which I've also been thinking a lot about, that supply and demand is a way that we as purchasers, consumers, it's not all just like tangible products. It's also like the services, the streaming media that we are paying for. It's also like our doctors and all sorts of things, or you pay for tutors sometimes, you pay for school and college in some cases, it's all of those things. But the consumer part of it is often the demand part of it. Like, consumers aren't willing to put their dollar in a certain place, then that's going to devalue that product. And whereas the things that we are demanding, that we are wanting more of, that's going to have a direct impact on that business. And then that's also going to have like kind of a butterfly effect everywhere. I keep kind of pausing myself when I am talking about some of these things because I'm trying really, really hard not to go down any of these rabbit holes yet. I really want to keep these episodes on the shorter side. But if you want to go down that rabbit hole, and then maybe later we'll together go down those rabbit holes, Paul Krugman's Economics Masterclass, highly recommend. And then also kind of in terms of recommendations in general, I do want to shout out some of the things that are examples of where I am putting my dollar. I recognize that what is a priority for me at this moment in time may or may not be a priority for other people. So it's less that I am saying, do this, don't do this. This is a good company. This is a bad company. I just want to give you an example, and I really want to talk about like the why behind it. So in a segment, I feel so cheesy saying things like that. In a segment that I'm going to call Not Trying to Tell You What to Do, but Here's What I Bought. I'm going to focus this a little bit on Christmas. So it's January 2025. Christmas just passed. I know there are other holidays in the wintertime that some people celebrate. I celebrate Christmas. And one of the places that got a lot of my dollars for Christmas was Etsy. I use Etsy in general. I like the idea of being able to shop local, but the local is it is an online local, but supporting small businesses, oftentimes they're creators. I like things that are handmade. I like also things that are unique. I'm not always one that's going to like go after something because it seems cool or because other people have it. Like I kind of want those like one of a kind type of things. Anyway, I'm going to pick this up because this is one of them. This year, I wrapped a lot of my Christmas gifts for folks in reusable Christmas gifts. I got these, and then they kind of cinch. You put all your stuff in it, and then they cinch up. Imagine this is like a big Santa bag full of stuff. And then they're cute. They come in all different kinds of designs. They're cloth. I imagine they can be washed in some way. You probably have to be careful about it, but with the intention that it can be used year over year, or celebration after celebration. I got this and a pack of them with different kind of designs from the GatherAndKnotShop, KNOT shop. I'll put links to all this stuff on Patreon so you guys know where to find those. I also used Etsy we do a holiday party with some of my college friends from a sorority that I was in. And shout out Delta Zeta, Missouri State University. We do a holiday party all together because we're really cheesy. We do it every year. It kind of rotates from people's houses and stuff. And often we do an ornament exchange. So this year and it was funny, I kind of had like a twin brain with, that's funny. I said twin brain because the girl that I'm going to shout out is also a twin. Well, I'm taking her spot as the twin here in Twin Brain. But she and I both had custom ornaments made for that party. I'm not sure if she did hers on Etsy or not, but that is an option there. I also bought these like very beautiful, I don't have an example of them, but I'll link the shop again. But these beautiful little like hand-stitched bookmarks for a handful of my friends that are also readers. And some shirts that are Chiefs themed. Big Kansas City sports fan. Chiefs are killing it right now. And so I bought some stuff from different shops from there as well. But that was a big place. I thought that those were also some kind of more unique kinds of gifts. I also thought that it was really fun to just like search and like click around and see what people are making. And I am not crafty at all, not that kind of creative. So I very much appreciate other people's time and talent and effort when it comes to things like that. So that's where I put my dollar. And then just to wrap this up, I in no way want to present myself as any kind of an expert, any way that I'm saying like this is what you do, this is what you don't do. I think again the world is very complex. There's a lot of things that are going on and that change very quickly. I think things evolve. I also think that access to information is wildly different depending on who you are, where you are, your algorithm, and also what's happening in the world. Again, I could go on and on about this because it just like makes my brain hurt a little bit to think about like how not black and white things are. So just it as I'm going through and researching things and trying to like make heads or tails of this, some of the questions that I still have are this is funny that I wrote this down after I just rambled about this. How do we make this more manageable? How do we value time and convenience? What's the environmental impact of shipping? You know, I just talked about how I bought a bunch of stuff on Etsy that all got shipped through, you know, USPS, UPS, FedEx, DHL, like all of these different things. What's the environmental impact of that? How does that compare to other ways in which you can purchase stuff? How do we cut that down? Comparisons? Can we pressure companies to improve environmental impacts? And if so, how do we do that? Yeah, I don't know. These are questions that I still have that are things that I'm gonna kind of get into. Next week I'll have more reflection on specifically the first video that I put out, or the first podcast that I put out, the introduction of the Capitalism for Good project that's published on that main feed. And we'll kind of like go from there. But yeah, all right, that's enough. Let's go and leave this place better than the way we found it.